Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Bart Willard, and I am writer, director, and producer of an independent short film entitled That Which Remains. This film is a faith focused, faith affirming Christian steampunk, dieselpunk, sci fi fantasy. I hope we're doing something a little new with that. We've been working on this project for well over a year, just trying to get all the pieces and the parts put together to finish development, to tweak the script, and to get out there and tell folks about this project and see if they wouldn't be willing to come alongside us and help us finish production of this film. So, to that end, our team has been discussing a number of ways that we can continue to do that and continue to get the word out and share content that's interesting and engaging. And we'll tell you more about what we're doing. Our team came up with the idea of doing an interview. One of our team members, Chris Sullivan, a friend and associate of mine, has been wanting to interview me for quite some time to share my passion, my vision, my excitement for this project, to discuss what this project is, to talk a little bit about what it isn't, and to share why I want to do this project, why it is so personally important to me. So, Chris and I and another one of our team members, Jeffrey Higgins of Higgins Media, we all got together and we put together this interview for you. What you're going to see right now is part one of a 6-part interview. If you do like what you see, I would encourage you to like it, to share it, to subscribe to our various social media platforms, which you will be able to see at the end of this video. So for now, I just want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hey, everybody. Glad you could be here today, joining us for this interview with Bart Willard to talk about his new movie, That Which Remains, a movie that's in pre-production. We're going to talk a little bit about that today and about where the whole movie's going. Bart is the director. I think he wrote part of the screenplay,
Yeah.
and of course is acting in the movie.
Yep.
So some of you've heard about this already. Some of you probably this is all brand new. I heard about it a little bit over a year ago when I got involved in the project, and I'm just really excited. So we thought it would be a great idea to kind of let Bart present some of the concepts and ideas of this movie. We're gonna get into the characters a little bit, of the cast, and like some of the actors and the crew and all those kind of things. So it's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a fun project to make. So we want to share with everybody as this thing is going forward. So we're going to tell you where we're at today. We're filming this in December of 2021. We're going to tell you where we're at today on this thing and where it's going into the early part of next year when shooting's going to start, all that kind of stuff. We're going to get into that today. So anyways, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoy it. So Bart, why don't you tell us a little bit about That Which Remains? What is the basic story? What's this movie about?
Okay. Well, best place to start, I guess, is to just kind of describe, the setting, the genre a little bit. It is a faith-focused, steampunk, diesel punk, industrial gothic, sci-fi fantasy short film.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. I always tell people that hear that, if you don't know what any of those terms are, just Google them. You'll get plenty of information.
And maybe we'll talk a little bit about
Yeah, we can talk about that a little bit later. But, and it is the story of a man named Andrew. This story takes place within an end times kind of a setting, but think of an alternate Earth end time setting. It is i- kind of an apocalyptic situation. Uh, his world, his Earth, has been invaded by these these dark entities, these creatures, if demons, if you will, if you want to call them that, these fallen beings. And he is a soldier in that war. He um, is kind of like a commander. He's a fairly high-ranking individual, and he's fighting these creatures. This is like a holy war that they're fighting to abolish these beings from their world. Um, by the time we come into the story, Andrew's wife has been killed. Um, a dark entity named Salmaveth, which is Andrew's arch nemesis, really. He has killed Andrew's wife, stolen a precious heirloom, a mustard seed pendant that she always wore. And now Andrew wants to go and retrieve that pendant. He's got a young daughter. They had a daughter together, and she is now somewhere around 6 or 7 years old. And Andrew wants to get that pendant back for his daughter and exact his revenge against Salmaveth for killing his wife. Um, and so he goes into Salmaveth's stronghold, the Black Keep. He faces a number of challenges as he goes deeper and deeper into that keep until he finally faces Salmaveth. And it's a journey of faith. It's Andrew he's a religious man, but he's not a faithful man. He has no real, honest, true faith in God. And so he's very dutiful. He's doing this because it's the right thing to do. But now he's broken because of the death of his wife, and he doesn't know how to raise a 6-year-old daughter. And he's doing the only thing that he knows how to do is to be a soldier and to go and to get this pendant back and to face Salmaveth. And through that journey, through that challenge, and through that darkness, he does face his own dark and broken heart and realizes his need for a true faith and a true and abiding relationship with his Creator. So that, in a nutshell, is what the story is about.
So that's the story. It's and this is a short film, right? Maybe
Yeah.
going to be like a 30-minute film.
Yeah,
somewhere in there?
we've got it at. I think we can keep it to about 30 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Tell us what this film is not, because I know you have some concerns about filmmaking and storytelling, especially Christian filmmaking and storytelling. So, and I want to talk a little bit about that as well, about your ideas of Christian films and where that kind of stuff is today. But first, just start with what this film is not.
Okay. This film is not your typical, I call it an altar call film. Okay. It's most of the Christian films that I've seen, they do stay sort of within that, for lack of a better phrase, kind of a warm and fuzzy.
Kind of a Hallmark.
Yeah,
Christian
kind of a
Hallmark, yeah.
Hallmark Christian. And I don't want to be insulting because I do believe in the message that these films are telling, and I do support them, and I believe in the God that these films want to glorify. But my film is something, it's darker, it's grittier, and I want something that contrasts faith and hope and this light that we have against darkness, against suffering and difficulty, because I think that's the only, for us, it's the only way that it really makes sense, that we can really see, that comparison, and that's what I want to do with the way that I'm approaching this. So this film doesn't have kind of a warm and fuzzy feel to it at all. There are some earnest moments, and there are some very honest and heartfelt moments in the film, but it by and large doesn't go. It's not really Kendrick. Excuse me. It's not. Kendrick Brothers they have a particular style and format that they themselves admit to, and so we're not really kind of going there. Yeah, so it definitely doesn't have that kind of Hallmark Hall of Fame sort of feel good movie.
So it's really a quest and it's a
Hmm.
story. It's like an adventure.
Yeah.
You call it a steampunk, diesel punk, sci-fi fantasy. I know you've added a few other adjectives to that as well. Recently, talking about it, kind of having that gothic feel, and I'd like to
Mhm.
get into that here in a minute about just the what where steampunk and diesel punk
Mhm.
fits into this. But let's just talk about sci-fi fantasy because that seems to be a genre that has been around for a long time.
Mhm.
We can go way back in time and look at literature, all the way back to
Mhm.
things like Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah.
That was literature that was set in the time that was actually written. I mean, that's kind of the setting.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm thinking more like Tolkien and
Mhm.
Lewis,
Yeah.
and even in today's world, we get people writing stuff not always intending Christian themes in there or Christian metaphors,
Mhm.
but certain truths that we
Sure.
find in the
Mhm.
Christian worldview
Right.
or in the biblical truths as we like to call them.
Right.
We see those in a lot of stuff, whether they
Mhm.
intend to be there or not. But the more intentional things that we can think of right now might be C.S. Lewis
Mhm. Sure.
and
Yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and so on. So we really see this fitting in more like that kind of thing, but of course with its own twist. And this is probably the first time I think that anybody's ever done anything that's with Christian metaphor that's steampunk, diesel punk.
Mm.
I think we've seen sci-fi maybe like
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
So speak just a little bit more to that, to why that kind of world, why maybe even just doing this as a fantasy story in general. Because as you mentioned, it's set in an alternate world,
Mhm.
which these types of things generally are.
Right.
So
Um,
why do what is it about that? Is there something that you just really dig that kind of stuff or what?
well, yeah, I'm not afraid to admit that I'm a geek. I am a nerd for this kind of stuff. Now, got to understand, when I was raised, the time that I grew up in was the age of Star Wars and a lot of that stuff that was just beginning to come out and really, be a big thing. And so no doubt there's a lot of influence in those kind of films and those kind of stories as I was growing up. Um, but I always had this draw to, you know, stories that weren't necessarily set within the world of the everyday life that I grew up in. So um, and I just grew up loving those kinds of stories, loving the imagination, seeing things that I hadn't seen before. Um, and so that's probably why I love sci-fi and fantasy so much. At least try to connect it to my childhood a little bit. And as I've grown up and developed my love for this kind of stuff, I've realized that sci-fi and fantasy has this great quality to it in that it allows you to tell these really great stories, these really great truths um, that we believe in from Scripture, but we can put a different color on it. We can create new and unique imagery to tell those same old, tried and true, those eternal stories. And so I really love the fact that I can, take these truths out of Scripture and these concepts and these themes and give it, you know, a unique, a unique appearance and a unique look, I guess. And I can kind of go in a direction um, that I wouldn't normally be able to go in with putting it in a familiar setting, sort of an everyday, uh, you know, 21st century Earth American kind of setting. So I don't have those limitations, if you will. And so I really think that I can create a story that can be engaging, imaginative, and just help pull the people in and help them to see that all these truths that we believe in are indeed true because they apply in any setting, any situation, whether it's a real world setting or one that's made up. You know, truth is truth because it's always true.
Right.